Today is October 6th, 2025, the eve of the 2-year anniversary of the terrorist attack by Hamas on Israel. It is a day of infamy for Israel. It will live on forever, probably, in the annals of Israel's history. We are currently still living with the ramifications of that attack. There are still hostages kept in Gaza in horrific conditions, which we know from the ones that have been released. There are bodies of other hostages still in Gaza. Our soldiers are still fighting in Gaza. Some are still dying. And of course, the people of Gaza are suffering incalculably from the ongoing attacks by Israel in trying to rout out Hamas. This certainly began as a just war in response to the attack. Hamas had to be subdued and their weapons had to be destroyed. What it is now is not as clear. It is clear that most Israelis want the hostages back. They want an end to the war. They want the soldiers brought home. For the past 2 years here in Israel, we've been living somewhat of a bifurcated existence. On the one hand, not too deep in our minds are the thoughts of the hostages and soldiers, for many of us, for the Gazans, the innocent Gazans. On the other hand, we live our lives. We've been living our lives despite the bombardment from various countries, whether it's Iran, certainly Hamas in the beginning of the war, the Houthis still firing rockets as recently as a couple of days ago. And yet we we strive for normalcy. We go to movies, we go on vacations, even going to a comedy show later this week, and yet we struggle for this balance. But we succeed because that's mostly what we do. And now, on this, again, the eve of this anniversary, there's a glimmer of hope for some serious change, both short term and long term. There's a plan on the table put forth by the United States, being pushed by President Trump, uh, mostly created by Tony Blair and Jared Kushner, certainly based on things that the Biden administration had thought of in the early parts of the war. But this plan is comprehensive, not ideal. It's not going to make everybody happy, but that's what compromise does. Um, in the short term, it will most importantly get the hostages home. It will end Israel's attacks on Gaza. It will disarm and disband, hopefully, Hamas. It will then create a path to the reconstruction and restoration of civilization in Gaza with a longer term possibility and hope for a true reconciliation between the Palestinians and the Israelis, creating what would ultimately and very, very hopefully be a two-state solution in the long term. It's all a long way away. It's all a long shot. There are a lot of forces working to scuttle this, both extremists, certainly Hamas as an extremist organization is kicking and screaming not to give up its power. And we have extremists here in Israel who have visions of taking over Gaza. But for most of us, I think this type of a solution is really the best. And of course, ironically, it comes from Donald Trump in a sense, because he's the one that's pushing it through. The plan, like I said, has been around for a long time, but it took somebody like Trump to really put people's feet to the fire. As you know, if you know me, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. I think he's abhorrent in so many ways. Just like Israel was under attack and is still under attack in many ways, I believe that under Trump's presidencies, the government of America is attacking the people of America right now. There is no love lost between me and Donald Trump. However, because of his nature, he was able to do something that probably no other president could have done. He held Benjamin Netanyahu's feet to the fire. He sat him down in the Oval Office and he said, "You're going to pick up the phone. You're going to call the Prime Minister of Qatar and you're going to apologize. And I'm going to take pictures of it and I'm going to publicize it." And he did that. I don't think any other president could have done that to Netanyahu. And the next day, Trump issued an executive order essentially creating a defensive shield over Qatar to protect them, probably from Israel, but in general. So that is something that I don't think another president could have done. And if, big if, this plan comes to fruition and succeeds at any level, Trump does get credit. That's the way it works. And to be honest, I would be there and I would hand him the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize, for doing this. Of course, the next day, I'd be happy, thrilled to lock him in jail for the rest of his life for the horrific things that he's done to the country, to the people, to individuals in the United States. He certainly deserves to be locked up for that. So that's the way it is. The world's complicated. People are complicated. Things are complicated. Nothing's binary. We don't live in a binary world. So on the one hand, somebody like Trump, who I consider to be evil, almost, could deserve something, an accolade like this, while at the same time deserve to be, again, imprisoned in my mind. I hold similar feelings about Benjamin Netanyahu. He certainly bears the brunt of the responsibility for October 7th in the first place, but also some important things have happened in the interim, which he does get credit for. But on balance, I think he belongs in the same place as Trump does. Anyway, I'm really hoping that something positive will happen in the next hours and days. I'm hoping we're all hoping that the remaining hostages will come home, that the hostilities will end, that the soldiers will be able to get on with their lives, the young ones will be able to go back to school, continue their studies or start their studies, maybe get married, whatever their future holds. The older reservists will be able to go back to their families, to their jobs, and hopefully restore their lives to what it was before the war. The people of Gaza will also be able to hopefully start rebuilding their lives and rebuilding Gaza. And again, I hope this has positive long-term ramifications for the entire region. We'll see. In the meantime, we have a festive holiday coming up, which again is fraught with that same type of dichotomy. But we will persevere, and we will celebrate this holiday as we have done for many others over the past 2 years, while also keeping space in our hearts and our minds for the horrific things so many people are going through around us, and hoping for things to be much, much better really soon.